Hi, everyone. The other day I did a video about our solution to the Forrest Fenn poem, and today I want to come out with a follow-up video. Before I show you that video, I want to mention that the other video was accurate. Nothing has changed in this video, with one exception. In the other video, I wanted to make things very clear, and I wanted to do it in such a way that if you were a poem purist, you went through the poem and you just married all the clues to the right places, and you just so happen to discover the correct where warm water salt. And basically, as I showed, I kept everything themed around Bighorn. We started at the Bighorn headwaters near Thermopolis at Wedding of the Waters. We took the Bighorn River in the canyon down towards downstream towards the Bighorn Canyon and Bighorn Recreation Area. We didn't go into the canyon. Instead, we put in below the Homa Brown, and the Homa Brown is essentially Medicine Mountain, where the wheel is. And then I showed you how the poem took us from the Putin up Old 14A, which is the Dayton Cane Road, ended at the Five Springs Campground. We parked at the Upper Campground Falls. We hiked a short quarter-mile trail up to the Lower Falls. We ascended the Lower Falls into an area that I was calling the Cirque. There's a bigger waterfalls there, and it's an enclosed area. You can only get in and out one way, which is the way we came in. That is still the solve. That is where I still think the chest is. But this time, I want to explain to you how it really works. How would you go through the poem in order to determine the correct starting point? Because Forrest indicated that that's very, very important that you get the correct starting point. Because if you don't know where to start, the directions could lead you anywhere. So this time I'm going to show you that. But before I show you that, I want to mention a couple of things here. First of all, I want to say again, I am not claiming to be the finder. I do believe that Jack Stoof is the finder, quote unquote. He's obviously in the picture with Forrest Fenn. And I know there's controversies out there, but I don't want to get into those. If we trusted Forrest Fenn enough to do the chase, then we should trust him enough to say that Jack is the finder. I understand that there's odd things that happened. Number one, Forrest never publicly congratulated Jack. Number two, he never did a video to kind of wrap up the chase and just summarize it. And I believe that he would have done that, right? I don't know why he didn't do it. So that leaves the door open to all kinds of things, and I don't really want to get into those there. I'm assuming, and I believe, that Jack Stoof is the finder. What I'm not sure of, and frankly, what I don't believe, is Jack's reasoning for not giving out the location. Let's put it this way. Forrest Fenn created a chase that had, at least according to him, 350,000 people looking for his treasure. Forrest Fenn has always stated throughout the entire chase various things such as, when you find this place, you're going to say, wow, my God, why didn't I think of that? When you see the solution, you're going to say the same thing. Why didn't I think of that? But the most important point is he created a chase for 350,000 people. And if he really wanted to keep that place secret, he would not create a 350,000 person treasure hunt and then tell everyone to go there, because obviously that's going to reveal the place. So there's got to be some reason why Jack is not giving out the solve. Who knows? Let's say maybe my solve is right, and let's say that my location's wrong. We all know that my solve is within the medicine wheel. So what if I'm wrong and the treasure was actually physically in the wheel? Now, I know that's kind of funny, because you would think somebody would find it when they do all the celebrations in there. But there's two things going on. Technically, only Indians are supposed to enter that wheel unless you have permission from the park. You are not supposed to go in there. However, having said that, That is not physically Indian land. That wheel exists in the Bighorn National Forest, which is public land. Okay. But it's sectioned off, meaning that it has certain restrictions applied to it. But technically, like I said, you're not supposed to go in there. And certainly if you did, I don't think they would arrest you unless you were removing artifacts that are native to that area, or maybe you were stealing artifacts that were hanging on the ropes that surround it. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't want to get into controversy here. So I'm just going to assume, yes, Jack's the finder. But it puzzles me why everything he says about various things, including the fact that he claims Forrest did not want to have the place exposed. I just find that extremely hard to believe, that if I wanted to keep a place secret, the first thing I'm going to go out and do is create a treasure hunt and have 300,000 people looking for it. Okay. I'm not going to do that. All right. Second of all, he mentions various things about Forrest not wanting a solution to be given out because people will find a location. That too is incorrect. Forrest never said that, ever. In fact, he said the opposite. However, in Jack's defense, what Forrest always said is that the finder has their own story. Okay. Jack found the chest. He's got his own story. Forrest did not want to give out the solution because maybe Jack wants to make a documentary. Maybe Jack wants to make a movie. Maybe he wants to write a book. Who knows? That's the point. Whoever solved the poem and found the chest, it's their story. It's no longer Forrest's story. As Forrest said, once I put that chest out there, it's out of my hands. So I don't want to get into bashing Jack. We just don't know the answers. The only thing that I would complain about is his reason for not giving out the solve. To me, is it just doesn't cut it. It doesn't make any sense at all. He may have another reason, but honestly, why not just go state it? Why not just come out and say, I intend to reveal it in a book or a movie or whatever? Why, instead of doing that, just come out and say, well, I'm not going to give it away because Forrest told me that he doesn't want anybody at the spot. I don't believe that for a minute. There's got to be another reason. I can't find it. I don't know. But we can't take the fact away from Jack that he is the finder. I agree with that wholeheartedly. However, until Jack comes out with a solution, he has not proven that he solved let me put it this way. Obviously, he solved something in order to make it to the chest. Now, he might have had a few clues and he went to the chest and he didn't necessarily stumble on it, but he came in the back way. He reverse engineered it, however you want to put it. So he may not actually know the solution, or maybe he's embarrassed to say the solution. I don't know. But until he provides me with a way that shows precisely how he used the poem and only the poem, because that's all Forrest said was required. Now, I will accept stuff in Thrill of the Chase because I consider Thrill of the Chase and the poem as part of the package that he released. Okay. The poem is available separately, but it was not released officially until the book came out. So the book we knew had the hints. So what I want to see is a solution that doesn't rely on anything but the poem and the Thrill of the Chase. Okay. And I'll add one more thing to that. If one or more of the clues takes you to an historical location, especially one that is documented on site, in other words, it's got kiosks set up or plaques or, the information about it and its meaning and its use is publicly available on site. So Forrest wanted to get you out and about. I don't think he wanted us to go out in the middle of the woods 10 miles away from civilization. I think he wanted us to go out and explore stuff that is safe for the family to get to and something that you could do over a day or two, and there's no risk other than the risk that you would normally have when you're out in those places camping or sightseeing. That's what I believe. So if you were able to marry the clues to a map, they could be married to a map of that site, or they could be married to any kind of a map. But it should be something that's available to a tourist at a historical site, doesn't require any research beyond those things and the thrill of the chase. If Jack comes out with a solve that meets those requirements, to me, he has also proven that not only is he the finder, he is the one who solved the poem. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy, but I just don't believe his reasons for not giving it out. In any case, over the past few days, I've been emailing Jack a couple of times, and he normally replies. I don't think he's against any of us. I don't think he's trying to pull a fast one. I don't think he has ulterior motives. I think that he's he's pretty responsive, and he's clearly trying to give us all the information he can without revealing the spot or solution. So, what is my point about behind all of that stuff? Well, my point is, and it's kind of interesting, just like we can't prove that Jack is not the finder, he can't prove that he solved the poem until he does so. I'm not going to take any of those other excuses. And before I came out with my solution, because I really believe in my solution, and my ending might not be right. I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee anything, but I want to put it out there and you be the judge of it. Okay. I can't guarantee anything. And Jack can't even say I'm wrong, because in order for him to prove that my entire solution's wrong, he would have to come out with one. So my solve could be 99% right. And it was wrong because I didn't spend 25 days boots on the ground in my area. And that's another thing I want to mention there. That kind of contradicts what Forrest said. Forrest said the correct solution will lead you directly to it. He also indicated that it's impractical or unlikely that the blaze could be moved or removed, and yet Jack indicates otherwise. He also indicated that if you don't have where warm waters halts, you have nothing. So in order to solve the poem, you need to know where it starts. And then you solve the clues in that order. But somehow, Jack solved it, and he solved it by finding out where Forrest is going to die. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Now it is true that Forrest may have slipped up, and he may have given out information that would clue Jack in to where Forrest died. Jack found that location, but since he didn't solve the poem, he didn't know how he got there. He knew the chest was there somewhere, but he didn't know how to get there. He didn't solve the poem. He didn't begin at where warm water's halt. Okay. So in my opinion, until he proves wrong where you start and how you get there, he can't deny that anything that I put out there is incorrect. Now, anyway, before I put this out there, as I said, I contacted Jack a couple times. And my reason for contacting Jack is if my solve was correct, either in full or in part, I kind of wanted him to let me know if it is. Okay. Because if it was, I would try to do things in such a way that I don't come out with something and, well, let me back up there for a minute. First of all, 99% of the information in our solve has been out and about for at least 4 years, 4 or 5 years. Longer if you count Sam Smith's time, because he goes back to 2012 and 2013. So the way the first half, our first 3 quarters of our solve came from there. It's been well known. Okay. So the ending was the only thing that was not known until recently. Unfortunately, our ending was not the actual ending, I should say. We were close, but the actual spot we did not determine until 2 days after it was announced found. Okay. And the reason why that happened is another searcher that started at the wheel gave me some hints that I wasn't aware of. He gave those hints to me after he sent me a PayPal donation, because at that time he was claiming he was the finder. And he told me that he was going to Wyoming on June 16th, to get the chest. This guy, incidentally, works for the Department of Defense. I know that for a fact. He doesn't try to hide anything. He's a family guy. But ultimately, he told me it wasn't him that was the finder. But he still went on the 16th, because I asked him, why did you go on the 16th if you not? He went on it because he wanted to see if his spot was disturbed. Was it there? Just for closure, just like I wanted to know the solution. He wanted to know. So he went there that day. Basically, we were close, but we missed it. So I don't hold anything against Jack. I mean, like I said, I am not the finder. He found it. He has a chest. I'm not trying to contact him to get anything from him. I mean, I wouldn't complain if he threw some money my way, but I'm not. But it doesn't matter. The information, if used, was public, and we knew that. Okay, so I want to make it perfectly clear, like I did. I mean, I told Jack I would even sign a document that swears I will not sue him or anything like that, because I'm not trying to make any claims on it. Well, he basically replied to me and he told me that he's not going to give out the solution or the location for the reasons that he already put forward. And the other thing he said is that the chase was straightforward, but he's not going to answer anything about Solve. So since that's his reply to me, I decided that I'm going to put the whole thing out there in detail. Okay, so Troy, why are you putting it out there in detail? What's the matter? I'm putting it out there because I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Okay, you guys can look at it and just use your own judgment. Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? Maybe it'll give you closure. I don't know. You know, I'm not getting closure or anything until somebody proves it to me. And the only person that can prove it would be Forrest Fenn, and he's gone. So the only second person we have would be Jack. And if you know, a lot of people are looking for a solution, and I'm trying to give a solution that I think is extremely compelling. It doesn't use any ciphers, doesn't use any anagrams, it doesn't use any references outside the poem or the thrill of the chase at all. And it'll be up to you to decide. If Jack doesn't want to put anything out there, then I'm going to go ahead and put mine out there without worrying about perhaps making him look ridiculous, because now he's in a position that if he does come out with it and his solve is based around any of this, then we know the truth. And that is that he basically just came in the back door. He found stuff online that gave him some hints. And then he decided to take it a step further. And then he researched where Forrest Fenn would die. He found the spot, but then he spent 25 days putting everything together. He knew where it, and then he eventually, of course, he found it using information that he located with his own research and boots on the ground. It doesn't really matter, but either way, he did what we didn't do. He solved the ending, but I don't believe he solved the beginning. And I also don't believe, as I said, that he knows how to use the poem from beginning to end. I know he told you that Forrest Fenn went over all the clues with him. And I'm going to bet that Forrest didn't do that. I think that Forrest was kind of annoyed because the poem ended up being solved in a way that contradicts everything that Forrest had told us all these years. He wasn't happy about it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that he wasn't happy about Jack. I don't think he had ill feelings against Jack. But I think that he was just mad because somebody ended up finding it against everything that he told us. They didn't solve where warmer's halt. They didn't know to solve. They didn't even know what the blaze was, in my opinion. And again, in order for anyone, including Jack or even Forrest Fenn, to say that I am wrong and what I'm saying here, he would need to prove it by giving me out the real solve. So, guys, I have no way to prove this. I'm trying to do this to help perhaps give us some kind of closure, if you believe me. I don't stand to make any money out of this. I never asked for anything. And believe me, I could use some donations. My wife was in the hospital for weeks. My wife has been out of work for 3 months, and we really depend on her salary for a lot of our income. But I'm not out there begging for money. So, I mean, if somebody wanted to donate, that would be fine. I never tried to donate. I almost hit 1,000 subscribers. That would be at the point where I could monetize things. But since I stopped doing videos frequently, I lost a lot of users and I went down instead of up. So I can't make any money that way. But I don't care. I mean, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy doing these videos. I enjoy solving the poem. Okay. And I want to do that. And I'm looking for closure. And this is the result of that. So the first thing, let's get to the meat of the video now. I'm sorry about that long intro, but I really want to get that out of my system, and I wanted to make it perfectly clear. So I'm going to discuss the poem, and I'm going to do so in another video that's going to show you the entire solution. But I don't want to have to get into things like what I'm about to show you today. I want to get this out of the way now. And then when I show you the solution, I don't need to refer back to it. And I'm going to do that by showing you how to solve stanza one. And I just want to show this screen here kind of has to do with the ending location. And I wanted to point a couple things out here that I'm going to get to probably in the next video. I'm not going to discuss it now. But that picture you see there is by Joseph Henry Sharp, and that's his most famous painting. Forrest Fenn has that painting, and those words right there, J.H. Sharp's most famous painting, is taken directly from Forrest Fenn's book. He wrote 2 books about J.H. Sharp. Everything that Forrest donated to the museum in Cody was from J.H. Sharp, including the cabin. J.H. Sharp also had a place in Taos, New Mexico, where he stayed during the summer. He spent his winters up in Montana in the cabin painting Crow Indians. So J.H. Sharp's most famous painting here, according to Forrest Fenn, was the voice of the Great Spirit. And the Great Spirit is considered the wise one to Indians. When you go to the medicine wheel, and they would go there either on a vision quest or to find out something that they were trying to discover about themselves, or they were sick, or they want to go there to celebrate. It's known as a place of peace. In fact, the leaders of various tribes agreed that when any of those tribes, because I believe there's 28 tribes, that's why there's 28 spokes, and the 28 tribes that use that, even if they were at war with each other, they considered it a place of peace, and they would not fight each other at the wheel. By the way, that's part of the reason why Forrest says, go in peace. Okay, it's a reference to what that area was. And various chiefs from the Crow and so on and so forth would go there. Anyway, they considered the Great Spirit's the wise one. And Sitting Bull, if you look at the bottom, look at the quote that he said. I am a red man. If the Great Spirit had desired me to be a white man, he would have made me so in the first place. He put in your heart certain wishes and plans. In my heart, he put other and different desires. Each man is good in his sight. It is not necessary for eagles to be crows. We are poor, but we are free. No white man controls our footsteps. If we must die, we die defending our rights. Now, that medicine wheel is the most famous one anywhere. In fact, the other medicine wheels are said to lead the tribes there. And again, I don't want to get it. You could find this stuff out at the wheel. The tribe names are at the wheel. Everything that's in the Solve is at the wheel. Okay. And then the clues match that wheel. Exactly, they match it, as you'll find out in the follow-up video that I'm going to do to this one. But one thing I wanted to show you is the following. As many of you know, I started Chase in late 2014. In 2017, I realized that bias and removing focus from the poem itself was getting me nowhere. So I scrapped everything and started over. That was roughly May of 2017. I was thinking to myself, something is wrong. I'm not reading the poem correctly. I keep inserting my own bias. I'm stuck here near Lander at the time, or up by Du Bois, and I'm not getting anywhere. Something is wrong. This is also the same year that Forrest Fenn told me, and eventually everybody in the Chase, if your solve is in the desert, get a new solve. I can prove that Forrest said that to me before it was on Jenny's. And he did it on Jenny's the following day, I guess, so that everybody knew. And I think he was kind of mad. But anyway, I don't want to get into that now. I've discussed it in other videos. So I was, I had been stating many times that understanding the poem is the most important thing we can do. We must solve it as Forrest Fenn dictated. In other words, read the poem, read the book, read the poem, commit the poem to memory, which most of us have done. I certainly have. And then read the book, read it fast, read it slow, go back and forth, read it. That's how you successfully solve the poem. Because the point is, Forrest created he created a book of hints, but he really, if he would have passed away, as HEK, Toby would say, right after the Thriller Chase came out, the only thing we had is Thrill Chase and the poem. Forget about the scrapbooks, forget about a lot of stuff, all the other books, because what they're going to do, and trust me on this, they do nothing but create rabbit holes. And that was where I spent my original years, nothing but rabbit holes. And I'm like, this is not it. Now, the problem with reading a poem is when I read it, everybody is reading it at the surface and they're not really diving in deep. And what happens, and I have to give Jack some kudos, his video about bias is excellent. And that's exactly what happens. That's what happened to me. And I knew it was wrong in 2017. So I started over. And my first thing I did, because I'm really terrible with grammar, I'm a high school dropout. I'm like, I got to understand the poem. How do I break it apart? How do I understand what Boris is telling me and what he's not telling me? I didn't understand grammar. And Forrest hints many, 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 many times, including in videos on Dow's, where he pokes fun at the academic, the grammarians. He likes to bend the rules, find out where the edge is. He likes to abuse words. He said that many, many times. Well, if you're not wise enough to know when he's bending the rules or abusing the rules, and again, that's how he would interject his hints. You have to understand, like Jack said, the way he writes and the way he thinks. And in order to do that, I started doing a grammatical study of the poem. What is the poem really saying? Okay. Because what matters is what Forrest thinks, not what I think. So you can't just read it at a top level and let your own bias dive in. Okay. So I did the poem grammar breakdown, and then I made videos of that beginning in 2018. I actually think that Jack may have seen them. Can't prove it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm glad it did, actually, if it was any kind of help. I don't think he's ever going to admit that, but I think he's seen it. And that was also done by me in 2015 and 16. In 2017 on the forums when Jenny had the forum. Because I complained. I sent an email to Forrest Fenn and Dow, and I complained because Dow's website, honestly, is terrible. It didn't have threaded discussion. You can't carry a meaningful conversation on when the context is bouncing all around between 15 other places. It's terrible. And I told Forrest, why don't you have it your own board or forum? Pay somebody to do it the right way. Okay. About a week later, all of a sudden, Jenny comes out with Mysterious Writings Forum. I'm talking about her forum. Her website's always been there. I'm talking about her forum. So I immediately sent an email back to Forrest, and I'm like, thanks, man. You finally gave us a place to talk. And he replied back to me, good, do me a favor and try to help Jenny keep it a nice place. So I started posting like mad there, okay, in 2016. And her place didn't come up until late 2016. So from late 2016 through May of 2017, I posted like mad, so much that it drove my name to the top. And whenever you went on Google and searched Forrest Fenn, Wyoming, anything to do with Wyoming, my name came up. Not Troy Barlow, but Why Must I Go? Came up as the #1 Google hits multiple times. I was more than once in the top 5. Like 2, 3 the top 5 were my posts. It's not true anymore because I had Jenny delete most of that stuff. And before she deleted it, I recorded it in one of my videos. In any case, I posted like mad. I was happy I can get a place to discuss stuff in deep. I also posted, the try to wheel stuff. And incidentally, that was before Calazars made the video about it. So, a matter of fact, it was like months before he did that. And I pointed that out to him because I wanted him to do a video about it. He didn't, right? So I posted about it a couple months before, and then I eventually did a video after his video to clear up the air that this really had something to do with Sam Smith. And then, of course, eventually Calazars mentioned Sam Smith, and everything is all good. But needless to say, this information was out there. Anyway, on December 7, 2020, Jack Stoof, the finder, said the following words. And I want you to really look at that. This was incidentally at the link on the bottom I have, an Outside Online interview. He says, I don't want to ruin this treasure hunt by saying it was made for an English major, comma, but it is based on a close read of a text. That doesn't make sense, Jack. A close read of a text. Close read of the text, I would say a text, a poem, whatever. I guess even for the hints, a close read of The Thrill of the Chase. You really need to know what Forrest is saying. It's important. Otherwise, you're never going to find the hints. So that's what Jack said. He said, that's what it is. That is what it is. It's having the correct interpretation of a poem. So in order to do that, what Jack is saying, you don't need to be an English major necessarily. And the stuff that I'm about to show you right now doesn't require an English major. In fact, that may be why Forrest said to bring along a young child, because you'll learn this stuff that I'm going to show you in 3rd grade, maybe even sooner than that. Okay? This is not hard stuff. And you would not believe how many things that as adults we don't understand because our mind has, I hate to say it, but kind of been doing it wrong. We learned it wrong. We see stuff and our brain throws in its own interpretation without you even realizing it. And Forrest only had the poem. He didn't make a physical map with pictures and stuff, an actual real map of that takes you to the poem. He only did it with words. And words are put together with structure, and structure is the grammar. Do you need to be an English grammar major? Like Jack's saying, no. And this is one of the things that caught my eye, and it also caught Sean Dotson, because Sean and I were probably, I talked to Sean before I did my poem grammar sentence diagrams. I actually thought he would have been a better person to do it than me, because I was terrible at grammar. I spent a amazing amount of time relearning English, diving in deeper, consulting with college professors that I worked with in my past, and also consulting with grammar experts, at least two or three of them online, experts. I went through back and forth to make sure that I was interpreting things properly. And I did interpret them properly. Unfortunately, some of the diagrams I made were syntactically wrong. There's a set of rules when you make a sentence diagram, and I didn't quite understand all of those rules. So although I know what the text means, the diagrams are wrong. So I'm not really going to get into diagrams in this. I know how to do them properly now, but I'm not really going to get into it because that's like a whole nother science that you would have to learn that really is not that important. Although sentence diagram originated with grammar school. This is the way back in Forrest day, that's how they taught English because it would show kids the relationships of how the different types of speech work together. It gives you a visual representation. Okay. That's why I decided to do it. But this time, and including the follow up video for this, I'm not going to diagram it, but I'm also not going to dive in deep. I'm going to be very brief and I'm going to show you things and I'm going to just accept the fact that you've done the work. You've done the same work that I did, and that work that I'm about to show you on stanza one. That's what you have to do in order to understand it properly. Okay, it's imperative that you do that. Otherwise, you're not going to know what the poem means. You know, he doesn't hide anything in there, like Jack said. There's no, well, he doesn't. You don't use anagrams and you don't run a cipher on the text. You don't rearrange the words. It does have a hidden message in there. Jack didn't say that. I've been saying it. Sam Smith's been saying it. Jack won't. He's not going to be able to prove it wrong unless he comes out with a solve. But there is a message in there. But the only way you're going to see that message is if you, one, understand the correct interpretation of the poem and the clues, which I'm hesitant to say that Jack knows. Because instead of doing the easy thing and just looking at the book and looking at the poem, he went and figured out where Forrest wanted to die. I mean, talk about taking it into a rabbit hole. My God. You know, if you really understand what the poem is saying, then you should have a clear understanding of what it means, the message that you're seeing, and what the poem means. You have no reason to come in through the back door. But he kind of had a bonus that I guess that he did all the backdoor research. The beginning didn't matter. So he, contrary to everything Forrest Fenn said, he found it anyway without knowing where warm water salts, or without being able to prove it, or even know how to prove it. This, again, is my opinion. And Jack is welcome to prove me wrong. But I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going to prove me wrong by just saying Troy's wrong. No, 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 no. I'm much wiser than Jack is. I'm 58 years old. Jack is 32. I know in order to prove me wrong, you're going to have to show me your solution. If you can't do that and prove me wrong in writing, then I'm not going to take your word for it. Because, as I said, as far as I'm concerned, yes, the finder you are. The solver, you are not until you give us a solve. Sorry, but that's the case. Now, if you come out with it, of course, that changed everything. So, boy, 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 I went off again. Anyway, let's get on to the next screen and let's get into this. And I want to show you one more thing briefly before we do that. Okay, now why am I picking the first stanza here to discuss this? Here are some of the reasons why. And again, think about what Jack's been telling us and notice how everything he's told us to this point contradicts every single thing on this page. And every single thing on this page is Forrest Fenn's words. Okay. He let us know over and over and over how important the first clue is. Here. And he's telling us in order to solve it, you got to go to the first clue. And blah, blah, blah. You got to decipher the clues. You got to learn where the first clue is. You got to discover where the first clue is. You got to identify the starting point. where warm waters halts is the first clue, according to him, right? But the point is, from me, is in the red text on the bottom, where Forrest Fenn says there are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt, and nearly all of them are north of Santa Fe. Well, that means two things. One, the conditions of where your warm water halts has to exist somewhere in Santa Fe. Okay. The same conditions. That's why, for example, I rule out the Firehole River, I should say Madison Junction, because Madison Junction is formed. It's odd in that it's a headwaters, it's the beginning of a river, and it's formed by two rivers that are made from geyser output, basically. Not hot springs, geysers. They're made from thermals. So both of those are like that. I challenge anybody to go south in the search area, south, but still, like I said, of Santa Fe, but still in the Rockies, and show me any place that there's a confluence of two geyser fed rivers that form a confluence. There is none. So that place does not exist south of Santa Fe. Now, the other thing he says, there are many places. And that right there is the problem. Where warm waters halt can be a billion places up there. Some people think, like I said, Madison Junction, Issa Lake, Continental Divide, Thermopolis, where warm waters halts, the sink. There's a I forgot where it is, but there's places in Colorado. I mean, all over the place, and all of those. Oh, and Firehole River. I mean, there's so many places that people hide, and that's the problem. Forrest was emphasizing that you can't just pick any of those. You have to know which one. So the problem is right there. If you wanted to use brute force to find where warm water salt, it would take more than your lifetime. Obviously, 10 years people tried to do that and they couldn't find it. And the people that did find it, according to Forrest, solved them, but they didn't realize they solved them because the place they ended up, they didn't realize that the treasure was there because they didn't solve the poem. Okay. Now, so let me show you something else about where warm water salt. Okay, Forrest Fenn also had a lot to say about where warm water salt. Here are a couple of the quotes. Now remember, think about what Jack told us while you're reading this, where Jack came in the back door. In other words, Jack did not find where warm water salt. He didn't look. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe he did. But that's not what he tells us he did. Okay, but now watch him come out tomorrow and say, I started with where warm water salt. Even though he just got done telling us that he found out where Forrest wanted to die. And again, prove it to me, Jack. Come out with a solve. But show me a solve, and then we don't have to speculate about this. Everybody in the chase will get the closure that Forrest never promised us it. He left that up on the finder. But he certainly indicated that he believed the person who found it was going to be loud enough and they're going to reveal it, right? He didn't so far. So anyway, question number one. Someone unfamiliar with your poem receives a message that says, meet me where warm water halts, somewhere north of Santa Fe. Would they be able to work out where to go? If they can't, would they need the whole poem, another stanza, or just a line or a word to help them on their way? Forrest Fenn replies, there are a few words in the poem that are not useful in finding the treasure, Phil. But it is risky to discount any of them. You oversimplify the clues. There are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt, and nearly all of them are north of Santa Fe. Look at the big picture. There are no shortcuts. What that tells me right there is Forrest is saying that just where warm waters halt alone is not going to give you a starting point. So everybody that's out there and your solution starts as follows. Well, I went on a map and found this warm water place where warm water halts because stop right there. You cannot marry. He's telling you right there. And I mean, it's logical. He's saying, if I told you to meet me where warm water salt somewhere north of the Santa Fe, would they be able to work out where to go? And Forrest saying no. So he's telling you that where warm water salt is not, you're not going to find where warm water salt by looking at a map. You need the rest of the poem. He doesn't say how much, but you need the rest of the poem. And I'm going to show you again with our solution why you need the rest of the poem and how you will determine the part you need in order to figure out where to go to start. So if you're trying to find where warm water salt, and then you're looking for a canyon that's next to it, and then you're looking for a Homa Brown that's within walking, you're doing it. It's not going to work. You can't find it's not, you need to have the whole thing. You need to do what the poem is telling you. You can't look things up piecemeal like that. Okay. They may be individual places, but your chances of finding them are very slim because it's too vague. It's too vague. So here's the second one. Do you think that someone who is sure about the location of Homa Brown could reverse engineer where warm water salt? Now listen to this closely. Listen to it. Thanks for the question, Ben. If you're sure about the location of Homa Brown, why are you concerned about where warm water salt? You could read the rest of it, but and he gives you a hint. He actually is answering it here. He's saying, sure, and a few searchers might throw in some gas money for a percentage of the take. In other words, you'll be driving back to where you came from. The Homa Brown does exist in my solve, and the Homa Brown is a place. It's a place of origin, and it's a home, and I can show you why when we get to that point. Okay, but Forrest is telling you where the Homa Brown is. It has nothing to do with somebody named Brown or the painter's name was Brown or this or that. He's telling you, and like I said, I'll explain that in my next video. So in any case, he's telling you also that in order to find where warm water is halt, or if you knew the place where Homa Brown is, it's impossible to know that without knowing where warm water is halt. I mean, come on, people, read what Forrest is saying here. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that I did in 2017 that made me go to the grammar. This is the kind of stuff that drove people like Sean Dotson to do what they do and claim to be poem theorists. Somehow, Jack, we found out where Forrest is going to die. He didn't do any of this stuff here. Okay, as far as I'm concerned. And like I said, Jack, prove me wrong, Jack. Post the solve and you'll prove me wrong. I'll walk away with my tail between my legs. Okay. Until you do that, you're not going to be able to confirm or deny my solution. So let's look at the third one. Dear Forrest, you tell us that we should find where warm water salt before trying to solve any other clues. Imagining that we haven't seen the rest of the poem, and all we have to go on is beginning where warm water salt and somewhere in the mountains. Again, that's the same question that Ben Rayler or whatever asked. So we have another one by Steve. And then Forrest Fenn replies, no, if all you have to go on are those two clues, you can't proceed with confidence. Look at it this way. If you were making a cake and you left out a few ingredients, would you achieve your goal? And then Forrest says a little bit more that again hints at where the place is. Forrest is hilarious. But he's told two people that, again, you tell us we find where we're without trying to solve any other clues. If you didn't read the rest of the poem, he's saying it right here. In other words, if you didn't read the rest of the poem, it is impossible to locate where warm water is halt. I shouldn't use the word impossible. It's not practical. You have to look at the poem. The poem is a set of instructions that reveal a hint that is going to provide you with where warm water is halt. And I'm going to prove that. I think I've already proved it in my other videos, but I'm going to prove it again in the next video. But I'm telling you, you have to do that. Again, Jack didn't do that. Jack found out where Forrest is going to die. He came in through the back door. Nothing wrong with that. It just happens to contradict everything Forrest said. And I don't know why nobody sees this. And again, I'm not trying to attack Jack. I'm just trying to say, why don't you man up and come out and just say, I found it indirectly. I didn't really have the full solution. Maybe Forrest did tell you the solution after the fact. Maybe that's why Forrest was annoyed. Because he, like I said, he never congratulated Jack anywhere. Yet the family did. Forrest didn't. He ended it almost abruptly and unfortunately left a lot of things. And by the way, everything I'm showing you here, every single thing, including the solution, with one exception, my ending spot. Because I told Forrest where it was. Forrest knows that I solved it. Unfortunately, I didn't make it there. And the same thing, like I said, there's at least two other people. There's the guy that works for the government. That's one other one that I've talked to. There's Suzanne Stanners, who's a fake name. She ended up near the ranch that Kanye bought, south of Cody. But her solve was based on a wheel. And both of those two people told Forrest last year that they were going to the wheel to do their solve. And then somebody informed me there was a Team X that was also going there. So unfortunately, I was set to go the week before the 6th and the week after. Unfortunately, my partner didn't make it there until June 8th. Too late. Okay. Susan Stanners, I talked to her on Facebook. She said she was going to go in July. I talked to the other guy, and he told me he was going to go there June 16th, which he did. And that was the day the pictures came out. But anyway, he didn't get there before June 6th. I don't know when Team X was going or whatever. That's them. So Forrest knew as of May that there were going to be at least 4, 5, if you count Jack, people that were heading to a solution. And I know the other 4 people were going to the wheel. Jack, I don't know. Like I said, I can't prove that my solve is right. But Jack can't prove that it's wrong either until he gives out a solution. Or he can give out the location. But I don't really care about that. All right. I can't prove my ending, but I'm damn sure about the beginning or the first 90%. I'm damn sure of it. I mean, I can prove it. It's convincing. It doesn't use any trickery at all. Let's move on from here. Okay, I'm going to do this part in a paint program because I like to draw. Basically, this is the first stanza, and when I'm analyzing something grammar-wise, I try to break it down into sentences, and then I break it down, the sentence down into clauses and phrases. Okay. And just thought that, I mean, you know what a sentence is. A sentence is going to have a verb, not only just a verb, it's got to be a tense verb. Okay. It can't just be any verb. It's got to be a tense verb in order to be the main verb of a sentence. And it's also got to, of course, have a subject. Those two things. A clause is not strong enough to be a sentence. It's not a complete thought. Okay. But it does have to have both a subject and a verb. Okay. Otherwise, it's not a clause if it doesn't have both. A phrase is a group of words that might have a verb, it might have a subject, or it might have neither of those in there. It's giving you additional information, just like a clause does. It's giving you additional information to complete the sentence. A phrase would be completing either a clause or a sentence. There's 2 different kinds of clauses. One of them is an independent clause, and the other one is a subordinate or a dependent clause. The difference between those 2 clauses is that an independent clause is literally a sentence. It can stand on its own. It's a complete thought. It's got a tense verb, and it's got a subject, clear in it. Okay? It doesn't have any subordinating conjunctions or anything in it. It's a clear sentence. Clause, I'm sorry. It's a clause that has both a subject and a verb. If the clause has a subordinating conjunction in it, Okay. It's depending. It's giving you additional information, but it's dependent on one or more other subordinate clauses, and eventually it has to be tied to an independent clause. A conjunction, and there's fanboys, you have, for, and, so, but, yet. Those are coordinating conjunctions. There's 7 of them. And they are used when tying either 2 independent clauses together. In other words, you could take 2 sentences that are complete and remove the period from the top one and throw a comma there and put the word and or but or, and that would be how to tie 2 independent clauses together. You can also do it with a semicolon. If you use a semicolon, you don't use the word and. You leave out the coordinating conjunction and just put the semicolon there. Okay. Now, the first thing I do in here is I look for the verbs. All right. So I'm going to highlight the verbs here in green. We have gone, another verb, can keep. Now, the word gone alone doesn't have tense. Okay. That's the reason why he has the auxiliary verb here, have. Have gone is giving us a full verbal phrase that is giving us a tense. Same thing with can keep. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, because a lot of people gloss over the helping verbs. Okay. They don't try to determine what exactly is he saying. After I find the verb, and here I got 2 verb phrases, next thing I do is I'll look for my nouns. My subjects. Basically, the subject of this entire stanza is I. Right? So now I'll look for my prepositional phrases. A prepositional phrase starts with a preposition and it ends with a noun or a pronoun. I'll highlight them in yellow. Okay, there's the first one. In is the preposition. In there. Second one is my treasure's bold. And the third one is of, riches new and old. So of is a preposition. New and old, riches is the noun. Riches is actually called the object of the preposition. So he's a hint of riches, new and old. These are basically acting like adjectives describing what kind of riches that they are. And in is telling you in there. And in means within the bounds of. Let's say it said on there, for example. On means literally on the surface. In means within the bounds. At means at that place. Remember, in means in within the bounds. For example, let's say I said they are at the house. Well, there's no indication of whether or not they entered the house. So if the text continued, let's say it was cool and dark there. Well, I didn't use the word in. So I just said it was cool and dark there. Then the reader's going to be left wondering if it was cool and dark outside or inside the house. So in is necessary, and it's conveying the full meaning of the text. You're physically in the house, within the bounds of. If I says in the park, that doesn't mean I was outside of the park, standing on the fence. It means I was physically in there, in a house. Okay. So in, the preposition, is saying that he was within the bounds of there. Right? With means among. So if I was with my friends, I was among my friends. Okay. So the preposition. So let me back up a little bit. In there, a prepositional phrase is going to act like, let's say, an adverb or an adjective. In this case, it's the prepositional phrase is acting as an adverb. It's telling us where. Where had he gone? Well, he have gone in there. Okay. So preposition is an adverb, meaning there. Now, with my treasures bold is another prepositional phrase acting as an adverb. And this one is telling us under what conditions. So he had gone in there and with my treasures bold. So these two are the conditions. He was within there and with his treasures bold. Bold, incidentally, is actually, that's not the, I made a mistake here. Bold is not part of the preposition. Bold is not a preposition. Bold is actually an adjective. And a lot of people think it means bold, that Forrest Fenn was being bold. That's not what it means. Because first of all, to be an adverb, it would have to say boldly. I have boldly, I've I have boldly gone alone in there. What bold is doing is it's an adjective and it's applying to both of these prepositional phrases. Okay. Think of it this way. The second phrase makes it more clear. In other words, his treasures are bold. His treasures, he's in there. He's not hiding the fact that he's in there. The treasures are boldly displayed, and is probably the best way to put it. Okay. And while I'm on that topic, after I do this, I determine all the other words. Like bold, like I said, bold is an adjective. Okay. Alone is actually an adverb. Okay, and it's modifying the verb because Forrest is saying here that he went alone. I could say that I went to the movies alone. Okay, I have gone. I went to the movies alone. That doesn't mean that he was alone when he got there. It meant that he performed the action of the verb while he was alone. So he was in there. He went there alone, and he was in there with his treasure bold. He didn't go there boldly. There is being boldly indicated. And obviously, Treasure's bold is bold because he puts bold has been applying to it right there. So we've done that. Now let's see. I don't want my secret where. All right, let me get to that one in a simple hint. Hint is another noun, but it's not the subject. Have gone is intransitive. Okay, means that an intransitive verb it doesn't have a direct object or an indirect object. It's an action, but it's not. It doesn't have an object. Like kicked is a verb that has an object. You kicked what? The wall, the ball. Okay, those would be direct objects. Okay, so can keep on the other hand does have a direct object. And the direct object in this sentence is basically where is a noun and it's a direct object. My is telling you who's secret, okay? And secret is going to reveal where. So both of these are modifying secret, the adjective. They're modifying who's secret. It's my secret. It's the writer. I owns it. It's his secret. It's possessive. My secret. And the secret is actually the pronoun where. Okay. And then we have down here and hint. So that's the other direct object. So even though it's not physically written here, what it means is I can keep my secret where and I can keep a hint more than one thing. He's keeping my secret where and he's also keeping a hint. What kind of hint? A hint of riches. What kind of riches? Both new and old. The next thing I do is I go and I look through here and I find any conjunctions. Okay, we have as is a subordinating conjunction. Okay, and then we have and. I'm gonna highlight that a little bit different with a different color because it's a coordinating conjunction. So basically, this and is connecting new and old, two adjectives. That's why it's there. This and is connecting and is tying together the two direct objects. My secret where and hint of riches new and old. Okay. This and is tying together in there and with my treasures bold, two prepositional phrases. What as is doing, and this will be interesting for you, is it's a subordinating clause. It's giving you additional information. This is a dependent clause. This, the independent clause, which is here. Okay. Basically, I can keep my secret where is a standalone sentence. Okay. That's an independent clause. Hint of riches new and old is also an independent clause. And just like I can keep my secret where and hint of riches new and old. Okay. So that whole thing is an independent clause. This, believe it or not, this entire thing down here is actually the main sentence here. When you read it, you could forget about the top part for now. It's just saying, I can keep my secret where and hint of riches new and old. That stands alone, that whole thing. But up here, the subordinating clause is providing additional information. And the additional information is a condition. It says as. As means the word is kind of means while. Okay. In the same time, in the same manner, in the same way that. So in other words, as while I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold. So that is a state, that is a condition that he was setting up. I wish I had a tablet. Anyway, that's a condition that's tied into the sentence. And the reason why he has a condition there, and I don't know whether everybody thought about this or not, but when you look at the word keep, okay, keep means that he's going to store something. All right. So keep is he's going to store something. I can store my secret where. Can is a helping verb. All right. And the word can means to be able to have the skill, the power or means to know how to be qualified to. So when you combine the two together, he's saying that if you are able to, if I have the skill to, if I'm qualified to store something in my place, what is he storing? He's storing my secret where and hint of riches new and old is what he's storing. But did you ever wonder yourself, why did he use the word can? I mean, he could have perfectly well said keep. Now let's use like just an off the cuff reading in a poem. A lot of people would read it real fast and say, oh, he's just telling you that he's going to keep a secret, he's keeping his secret treasure in the woods, That's not what he's saying here. That's like me saying, why do you have a garage? And you say, well, I have a garage because I keep my car in the garage. So suppose your car is out in the street and I ask you that question. Then you would probably say, well, I can keep it in the garage. So for some reason, he didn't do it that day. There's some condition that causes him to be able to keep his secret where. And that condition is outlined in this clause. The condition is that he went alone in there and with his treasure bold. So unless that condition is set up, you're not going to be able to determine his secret where. That's basically what he's saying here. So the poem is telling you, one, set up this condition, okay? And then two, this will come true, okay? He'll keep his secret, is going to reveal his secret where, and that's going to provide hints of riches new and old. Now, if you look at me here, I got some information on the bottom for discussion. And I want to point out that when he says his secret where, what is he talking about? Well, again, at a cursory reading, one might think, well, I'm going to keep my secret where at some place. No. Here, he's telling you that he's got to hit the riches new and old. He's going to tell you where is. And the only other place that where is used in the poem is begin it where. warm water salt. Again, begin it where? Warm water salt. We only have the word where here and here. Those are the only two places that exist in the poem. All right. So he's going to reveal where. Okay. He's going to hint. Okay. But everything in this poem, I want to tell you now, I'll get into this more tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, but the next video. Everything in this poem is a duality. Maybe even more than that, multiple layers, several layers deep. One of them is when you're decoding the poem, which is what we're doing right now. Okay, so let's call that phase one. We're figuring out what the clues mean. Okay, we're reading the poem. We're reading the poem properly. Okay, and we're trying to determine the answers to the clues. We're not trying to map them to a physical place. We're trying to find what the clues mean. We're following the directions in the poem. Literally, we're following the poem on itself. Okay. Now, when he talks about the word there, as I have gone alone in there, the only other place that there is, it's here. And it's in the poem where he says, from there, it's no place for the meek. From there, it is no place for the meek. So again, you only got there in two places. But remember, the condition is in order to find out a secret where, the condition is that you do both of these things. So the first one is that he's in there, from there, okay? And there, in the context of the poem, is below the home of Brown. Because he says, put it below the home of Brown. From there, notice how he changes it. It is no place for the meek. So he's describing that place. And this is going to come important when your boots on the ground, because he's telling you where there is when you're doing the physical mapping. But until that point, when we're in phase one, we're still working with the poem. Okay? So there is there. Somehow, we got to make that true. Because right now, the only thing that's true is that he's with his treasured bowl. So let's look at the hint that everybody here. He's going to hint, what kind of hint? Of riches new and old. Now remember, too, and this is important, the very next stanza starts with begin it where warm water salt. So it is a pronoun. And you've got to determine what is it? What is it? What is it? You should have two questions right off the bat. What is it? And where the heck is warm water salt? Well, the word it is a pronoun. And it means that it's something that we previously discussed or is assumed to be known. It's not as simple as, oh, it's the quest. Why would it be the quest? He just wrote a whole book. We know the purpose of the poem. He doesn't need to reiterate that. We also know the poem is to lead you to a treasure. It's a map to a treasure. He doesn't need to iterate that. The first stanza is not just garbage. It's not there to describe what he did in the poem or why he did the poem. We already know why he made the poem and why he had the chest. It's all in the book. Okay? He made it so that somebody can follow it as a map to get to his treasure chest. And the sentence that leads into the poem is, so I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will take you to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. Colon. And then you see the first line of the poem, as I have gone alone in there. So the context in the book, when we get to the poem, and the poem itself is the poem. When he says in there, you should stop and say, whoa, after you figured out all these words, where the heck is there? In where? Okay. So there is the poem. Is the poem. So as I have gone alone in the poem, and with my treasure bowl, which is also in the poem, I can keep my secret where? Okay. He's going to keep the secret in the poem. But it's a little bit deeper than that, because he's going to keep the secret where? Begin it where? He's going to tell you where to begin. And he's going to do that when you reveal the secret. This is simple stuff, folks. Very straightforward. No words are changed, no deleting spaces, no anagrams, no reading the four corners, no backwards text, upward, down, no trickery. Just read the poem exactly as he wrote it. Okay? So if we look at this, if you're in there, if it's something in there, remember, as I have gone alone in there, I is in there. So initially we're looking in the poem at a place that now remember, this subject, I, is the speaker. Everybody reads this poem and they're, yeah, it's Forrest. No, it's not. How do you know it's not? Okay, Forrest just got done telling you in that chapter that he put a piece of himself in the chest. He tells you that in the book. I've got a piece of me in there. I got my hair, I got my DNA. I feel that I'm part of that chest now once I put in that bracelet. Well, the first stanza, if you want to get creative and poetic, is the chest. Or it's Forrest dead at the spot with the chest. And he's calling you towards him. All of the clues are pulling you the directions on how to get there, right? So I is the chest. Matter of fact, the word chest is even in the poem. As I have gone alone in there. Forrest is in the chest. Or he was, a piece of him is in the chest. Okay. What else is in that chest? Treasures are in that chest. Ooh. Okay. So if I is a chest talking, then my is a chest speaking. It's the chest treasures. And why is it bold? Well, it's bold because he's putting it right here in the poem, in your face, for all to see, but nobody is paying any attention to it. So again, we have a state. He is in the poem, okay? He is in there. It says from there, which is below the home bound. Put in below the home bound. From there, it is no place for him to meet. So he's in there. But remember the word about the preposition with. With means among, alongside. Okay. You know, my hammer's over there with my other tools. You know, well, think again, the treasure chest. So if the treasure chest is in the poem, the treasure chest is in there, below the home brown, okay? So the treasure chest is alone, all right, in here, okay? It contains its treasures. Is the word treasure, treasure, treasure is in there, okay? It's bold, which means conspicuous to eyes, drawing attention to it. It's in the poem, he's making it bold. But it's only bold here. Another meaning for bold is a steep or abrupt cliff. Now remember, this poem is multiple layers deep, okay? And remember how I spell the word treasures down in this solve, downward beneath the T in the column using a canyon, but not the spelling that you're thinking of, C-A-N-O-N. Okay, I'm using instructions or a list of rules. Those rules are beginning right here. Beginning with one more halt. So you're beginning it under that T. But you're not putting in, you're not using the sliding trick until you get below the home of brown. Because you know, you're trying to find out where there is. Okay? You're trying to find out where. Okay? And I want to point out that yes, the word treasure is inside of here. Okay? So is the word as. Alone in there. Okay? So the T already exists because the T is in halt. The S already exists because it's in the word seek in the poem. These two things are already in the right position. The only thing we need to spell out is REASE S-U-R-E. Okay, we need to spell out, and that's not a mistake down there. I want to show you something. We need to spell out R-E-A-S-U-R-E. In the poem, people have talked about homonyms. Okay. Well, if you read, if you hear me all and listen good, which actually is a reference to a megaphone and a bighorn, and the which, like I said, sharp was deaf. It's a megaphone or a hearing aid. Okay, it's a bighorn. But anyway, sound that out. Reassure. This is what we're spelling in the canyon down beneath the T, starting at the line right below the Homer Brown. And we're taking it from there. We're taking the R. Okay. It is no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. See the letters coming in. There'll be no paddle up your creek. Don't use the A from there. Just heavy loads and water high. Now, we're always picking the second choice when we have multiple choices. Again, I already got into that in the other video, and I'll get into more in the solution. But I want to make sure you see what's going on here. You know how Forrest said the correct solution is going to lead you with confidence? With confidence, you're going to go to that chest. Well, look up the word. The word reassure is actually as sure. In other words, it's got one more S than we have here. These are only the letters that are within the treasure. In other words, reassure this way is in here alone, and it's bold. Okay. But another meaning for bold, like I said, is vertical. Now let's look at the word bold. Did you know that self-assure is synonymous with bold? It means you got self-assurance. You're confident in yourself. So you're being bold. You're confident. So we're actually spelling out reassure downward. When we do that, it's revealing try the wheel. This is nothing new to you. I talked about it yesterday. I'll talk about it many times. Okay. Sam Smith talked about it all these times. So again, there's no anagrams or anything involved here. We're not deleting any of the words. We're not moving anything. We're not doing anything strange at all. We're just doing what the poem tells us to do. And after we do it, it's reassuring us. It's give confidence, reassure that what we're seeing is right. Now notice that it says try the wheel. Okay. That's the message. Try the wheel. And you spelled that out, the message out. By the time you've done this, you didn't even put the word sure in there yet. All you've done is you use the R-E and the A. And then the next line where we get the S from wise is if you've been wise and found the blaze. And if we look quickly down, if you look quickly down the columns, we formed a blaze, and our blaze consists of the words the end. And it forms a double cross, which is a cross of Lorraine, which is a French grave cross, which is what Forrest Fenn trips over in the thrill of the chase. The cross of Lorraine. Okay. And it's basically a cross with a double arm on it, exactly like the cross that's in Too Far to Walk of the treasure chest lying in the hole with the lady picking up the top. It's got a cross of Lorraine. And I could form one of those at the wheel, incidentally, using the clues. But I'm going to get into that next time. But what I just wanted to make sure that you understand that we've reassured ourselves, we've given ourselves confidence, and we're bold. We're bold. We're the ones that are going to do the bold act. Okay, because when he gets down into the end of the poem, a lot of that is switching what he's talking about. He's telling you, and like again, I'll get to that later. So the only purpose right now to getting up to for this first stanza is to reveal try the wheel and to give us reassurance that if we take the secret where that we just uncovered, it's going to tell us where warm waters halt. So now in that video, I said where warm waters halt is wetting of the waters. Again, I also said it's at Five Springs Basin. And I'm going to show you that in the next video, how I determined that. And the way I determine that is not by using any trickery or anything with the poem, not by researching where Forrest is going to die, not by anything other than information that's readily available at the wheel. That's all I'm doing. Because all of the clues from this point on are relative to the wheel. All of them. Okay, and I'm going to show that. That's the part of the solve that I really haven't explained well, put out there yet. But I'm going to do it because Jack seems unwilling to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm telling you right now that I'm sure that this is the kind of stuff that Jack is talking about when he's saying that you got to know English. You got to make sure you're reading that poem properly. Okay? So again, bold is synonymous with self-assured, having or showing confidence. And we reveal try the wheel. Now, try the wheel. You know what the word try means, okay? It means do or test something in order to see if it's good, suitable. Okay? So the sentence really in try the wheel is you, because it's the directive. He's saying you, try. The verb is try. And the wheel is the direct object that you're trying. Try the wheel. So try means to do a test of something in order to see if it's good. So now that we've used the poem to find out where to start, as Sam Smith has said many times to me and online, and Forrest has said it, you have to know the starting point. If Forrest didn't use coordinates, and I know he didn't, that's not Forrest's style. That's a bunch of crap. He didn't do it that way. He used the poem and he put it right in your face because he knew that most people were not going to take the time to really understand the poem, let alone understand the hints, because it has nothing to do with the fact that Robert Redford wrote a book or not. That's an intentional rabbit hole. You have to know how to read the poem in order to locate the clues, because he used the same style of writing in the book. I've been trying to say this stuff for years now. And the reason why I put out videos and talked about it on Jenny's and talked about it on Dow's is because I was trying to build a team. I wanted thinkers. I wanted good people, not people that walk up and down the road looking for streams or having a bronze sniffing dog sniff something out. I wanted real searchers, good searchers, intelligent people, willing to work. Okay. And every time I tried to do it, I either got death threats from people, I got banned from the board because I'm acting like a know-it-all. It really pissed me off. So I made my own YouTube channel. But I also made a Facebook group. But it was useless because nobody made any comments. Nobody tried to help me. 99% of the people are there to lurk. They don't really want to help. They take. They don't want to give anybody anything. Nobody wants to collaborate. I've always been giving. I'm not greedy. I would, no problem. I mean, I already had a successful team. We found it. Unfortunately, we found the spot. We can't prove it, but it's too late, Jack. Found it before us. Rightfully, he didn't do anything wrong. I don't believe he ever solved the poem, though. And I do believe that this solution's right. Now, my ending, like I said, maybe it isn't at Five Springs. Maybe it's at Porcupine Falls. Maybe it's some bucking mule. I don't know. I believe the treasure chest is within, let's say, 3 miles of the wheel, period. My place, interesting enough, is 2.42 miles from the dead center of the wheel. That's where where I think the chest was, right above the Five Springs Falls. I can't prove it. Only Jack can prove that my location is right. But I'm telling you, this is a convincing way to get there. But anyway, Sam Smith always said that one thing Forrest had to do is give us a starting point in the poem. There is no way in the world that you could read that, put in where warm water's halt, and think you're going to solve it by brute force. That's why Forrest kept on pounding it in your head. You need to know where to start. You need to know where to start. Meanwhile, anytime we have a discussion like Sean and I were trying to do about the poem to break it down and figure out what it really means, people blow it off. Even people like Gypsy's Kiss. You know, they're there for flash and show. Same thing with Kyle Lazar's. Maybe a nice guy. Okay, maybe K Pro is nice too. But they're there for show. There's no substance there. Same thing with Candy. This is all bullshit. I mean, they're cool people. They talk an interesting game. Same thing with the Sunshine guy. That guy is extremely creative. I mean, he could probably do an awesome documentary. He's very wise. He says a lot of good things. But he didn't die. I would love, and matter of fact, I challenge Sunshine. I would love you to take this poem and do a grammatical analysis for the whole poem, like I have done over my videos. Do the same thing. Maybe you'll find something I miss. Maybe we can collaborate together and prove this. Lord knows I've been trying to get somebody. I tried to get Sean because I figured Sean's a college graduate. He didn't want to do it. Okay. I tried to get Eric Johnson. It is what it is. He went to college for English. He was an English teacher. What the hell is a high school dropout doing trying to discover? I mean, you have no idea how much time I put into this to understand this poem. I mean, I had to relearn everything, but I'm really good now. I mean, I may not be able to write good yet because I don't have enough practice, but I know English. I'll break down them clauses and phrases. I'll tell you, I mean, and I'm not just saying what's a noun, what's an adverb, adjective, what's a determiner. I'll tell you why the things are used. What's an adverbial? What do the different clauses mean? The different types of clauses. What's a relative clause? What's a gerund? I mean, I can tell you a lot of things of what they use. And Forrest knew all that stuff. A matter of fact, if you go back historically, and I have it here, somebody did a search when Forrest Fenn was in college, because he did go to college. He actually created an ad where he was looking to buy an English book. He wanted to buy an English textbooks for college. That guy loved writing. That guy, I mean, not only that, he loved collecting Indian stuff, but he loved writing. Why do you think he always attacks the academics? I used to like to bend words. It's not because, he goes, who made the rules? What rules? My rules. He knows the rules. And that was his whole point is, look, I know the rules. And I also know how to bend them. Because he knows that if somebody takes the time to really read deep, you're going to see where he's doing things in such a way that even an academic would not realize it. And trust me on this. I mean, I showed this to grammar experts. And I'm not talking about Eric. I'm talking about people that actually have a PhD. And they either didn't want to reply to me. Some of them told me I know more than they do about it. That blew me away. And I'm like, what? I mean, I can't. And they're like, but you get involved in poetry and, no, the rules in poetry do not change. Yes, there was one crazy moron poet that everybody laughed at because he abused the hell out of punctuation. But for the most part, all poets use grammar properly unless they have a reason to break the rules. And the only reason why Shakespeare or somebody would break the rules is to draw emphasis, to draw attention on something. It's the same reason for the punctuation. How many people really know what a semicolon means or why would you use it? And yet Forrest Fenn uses one in the poem. And people like K Pro laughed about it. Well, I'm laughing because you blew off the grammar, blew off all this stuff, and it's extremely important. And yes, Forrest made 2 scrapbooks where he joked about punctuation. But I hate to tell you this, but he was mocking you, not me. And believe me, I had a lot of discussions via email with Forrest while I was learning this English. Before those scrapbooks came out. Matter of fact, that might have triggered some of them scrapbooks. What K Pro and others are saying that grammar didn't matter and they're laughing about the punctuation. Well, Forrest got the last laugh because he came out basically with a scrapbook and he's mocking you. He went and he deleted all the punctuation from a section of his writing. And now you go try to make sense out of that. What he's trying to tell you is, of course, the punctuation matters. It doesn't matter in that there's a code or you count the number of commas or there's just some trickery where you got to do a cipher or no, it's none of that. You know, but he used it assuming that you're going to read the poem not as you feel like writing it, but as he wrote it. And if you don't know the damn rules, punctuation and grammar, you don't know how to read the poem. And I'm going to admit that I was the first one for the first 3 years. Matter of fact, I was even dumb enough to consider Yellowstone Park, Grebe Lake. I was wrong. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Look at the poem. Look at the poem. Understand it. And a lot of people go to the dictionary. That's wrong. They don't even know how to use the dictionary. I've seen people go in a dictionary and use the definition for a noun when the verb when it was actually an adverb, or an adjective when it was actually a noun. And how many people understand the fact that some verbs could be nouns or vice versa? Do you know the rules? Do you know if Forrest Fenn those? How do you know that? You know? How do you know? You know, until you do something like I did here, this exercise. And by the way, I'm not going to do this for every single part of the poem. If you want to hear stuff like that, go and look at my old videos. I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm just going to go over those stanzas and tell you what I think they mean. I'm not going to break it down. You want to break it down to see what the clauses are, what the semicolon. You do that on your own time. You know, I'm not getting anything for this. I'm trying to take you by the hand, lead you there. I went over this stanza many times. Back in 2018, I went over it. But nobody wants to listen. And that is why nobody found it. Well, up until Jack. Did Jack watch all my stuff? Maybe he didn't. Maybe that's why he doesn't know To Solve. I don't believe he knows it, honestly. And again, even if he came out right now and said Troy's 100% wrong, my answer to him is prove it to me. Show me To Solve, prove it to me. Until you do that, shut up and leave. Go sell the chest. You are the finder. You are the finder. Prove to me that you are the solver. Is he required to do that? No. But don't leave 350,000 people hanging, wondering if their solve was even close. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it really pisses me off. And you haven't given a good reason for that. So anyway, folks, I wanted to break down this one stanza just to tell you how it works. So let me look at my notes really quick. I went over everything that I wanted to go. I mean, if anybody has any questions, you can leave them below. But this is straightforward. I didn't go ahead and show you the diagram. I will show you a diagram now here. This is a diagram for that, just as I told it to you. It may make it more complicated for some of you, but this is a diagram. And by the way, this is on top and not in the same order as it's written, because when you diagram sentences, you're supposed to put the main clause on the top. So the main subject is can keep. The main part of the whole stanza is I can keep my secret where and hint. A hint. These are direct objects, two of them. You can also keep a hint of what kind of hint? Of riches new. Of riches, I mean. What kind of riches? New and old. And then, but the only way that he's able to do that is if you follow the subordinating or the dependent clause. Because this is telling you the conditions under which he does the stuff above. And when you're in the process of following stanza 2, where it becomes the word treasure, you are going to create this situation in the poem. You're going to make his treasures bold down that column in there below the home of Brown. And that's exactly where you're going to find the secret where, which is the starting location. I'm telling you, folks, this is. I'm going to try to be funny here. If you don't believe this year, you probably also believe that this year everything has been fair. Anyway, sorry. If you like this video, please click like. Please pass it around for me, because I don't really get out on a lot of the forums. I don't get out a lot in, well, Facebook right now. I'm in Facebook jail because they silence us. But anyway, pass it around, click like, please subscribe. I'm gonna come out with another video that's gonna show you the rest of how I figured out my current ending. But it's important that you understand this video. I am not going to go over this again for each and every stanza. It's a ton of work. Also, there's a second reason why I'm not doing it. If Jack truly does not know how to solve the poem, I'm not going to do the work for him. If he's going to be like that and he doesn't want to give it out, then I'm not going to do work for him. You know what? Because maybe Forrest told me, that he doesn't want the place, that he doesn't want the solution destroyed. He doesn't want the solution out there. It's very valuable. Somebody might go out there and burn the paper that the poem's on, and I just want to protect it. You know what I mean? I want to protect it. Poor old Forrest. He got all these people involved in the chase. He doesn't want anybody to know where the chest was. And he just sent you out there for the hell of it, right? Well, don't worry about where it is. I don't want nobody there. It's going to be protected. Even though he told us that, which once only he considered his own, is now a very popular place. I have to tell you that, again, in my Solve, with old 14A up until the 60s, that road, the Dayton Cane Road, is the only way to get up to the wheel. And that's also the ancient trail that the natives used. The current road that was built since the 60s is the way everybody gets up there. Prior to the 60s, there wasn't even a dome up there because the military used that dome for bombing tests that they did when they had an Air Force base in Powell, Wyoming. And then after they were done, military was done using it, they turned it over to the FAA, and the weather for, just standard use. And at that time, not many people went to the wheel. In fact, it wasn't until 1974 that the astronomer went there and discovered the meaning behind the currents. Prior to that, hardly anybody went there. Nobody. And then in 1979, the second astronomer went there. And of course, since then, a lot of people going. Matter of fact, it got to the point where they wanted to build a parking lot and a hotel up there. And that was the whole reason why in Taos, New Mexico, they formed the Coalition for the Wheel. And they protected that area. They didn't want to see it become a big tourist spot with tens of thousands of people there. So they expanded the area and you can no longer build up there. That's the reason why. It's not Indian land, but it's very sacred to them. And not many people still go there now because most people, whatever, it's an Indian area. Who gives a crap? They don't care. You are not allowed inside them ropes, but most people don't go there. There's nothing there. There is a bathroom there, but there's nothing there. But anyway, the closest campsite is Five Springs. And my God, that place is so funny, like I said in my video. I mean, it blows me away. If it's not there, that would be my spot. And I'm so mad that we didn't figure that out years ago, 3 years ago. Forget about now. I mean, we were literally, you don't have no, way before Jack was even searching, we had places lined up there and stuff figured out in this poem. But it was not until, and it was right up into May. As a matter of fact, with May, I was probably a few hundred feet away from the chest. And I told Forrest that. But after it was found, unfortunately, after, and it wasn't because it was after found, I didn't have everything done because, I gave my partner these locations, but I knew that we still had all summer long. Sam is like, look, Troy, nobody's found this thing for years and it's been out there. They ain't going to go there. And then, of course, that was the same time we had Cynthia and others, and I was laughing. They're looking over. They're never going to find anything other than that poser guy. There's nothing in Yellowstone Park. They're going to find it there. And I knew that Eugene, who's a really nice guy, was looking over by Cody. I'm like, he ain't gonna bother me. And the same thing with that father and son. They were nowhere near us. There was one other team that Sam knew of, but they were looking down by Meadowlark. I didn't realize there was 3 other teams at the time. And we still would have beat those other teams if my partner would have went out a week before he actually went. We would have nailed it. We would have nailed it. But we didn't. And I'm fine with that. Like I said, I'm not entitled to the chest. I think it'd be cool if we got part of it, but we're not. There's nothing that forces anybody out. So, in the very least, what I would like is to know to solve. And at some point in the future, especially if Jack comes out with solve and proves that I'm right, which I don't think he's going to do. He's not going to prove it. He doesn't have the guts to do it. He doesn't have the guts. He's already got the guts to release his name, which I would have done anyway. I would have released my name right away. I don't care. Nobody's going to come around here and do anything. I mean, just people that win the lottery for $10 million to $100 million. Why don't you know? You don't see anybody going to kill them. Whatever. And I certainly would have gave out the solve. I would have gave out the state immediately, and I would have told everybody, look, give me a couple of months. I want to put together a book or something, and I'll give you a teaser of the book, and in there it'll have the solve. And then I'll go into all the details in my formal book or movie or whatever. That's how I would have done it. But he doesn't want to do that, for some ridiculous reasons. And I think I talked to Forrest more than him. I never was in Forrest's house, but I think I know Forrest better than he does. I mean, I had a lot of comments. I mean, other people know him better than he does. Cynthia knows him better. Hell, Toby knows him better. Eugene's been in Forrest's house and in the vault. Right? For years ago. Donna McChesney knows Forrest Fenn better. Millions of people know Forrest Fenn. You don't need to find out where he's going to die. That's not how you're supposed to solve this thing. That may be how Jack did it, and power to him. I mean, holy crap. Found out where he was going to die, and he reverse engineered it, but he found the spot. So he made Forrest mad because he stumbled on it, literally. Contrary to everything Forrest said, he didn't start where warm water salt and solve the poem and figure it out. Instead, he came in from the back. Hence the reason why he's not given the solve. That's my opinion. It's all a load of crap. Did he do something nefarious and steal the solution? Is there some conspiracy? No. But, some people out there, like, I don't understand, either they think there's a big conspiracy or they hate Jack. I don't hate Jack. I don't think he's doing anything wrong other than not giving out the solve because there's no excuse for it, especially since he came out with his name. What he should have done was just shut his mouth and never come out at all. And that lawsuit stuff is a bunch of crap because there's ways that they could have done it and had only certain people in the lawsuit would be able to break the veil of his anonymity. I mean, there's plenty of ways. He could have done it through a corporation if he really wanted to be silent. And there are some really good theories out there that are not necessarily nefarious. Somebody told me a theory, and it could be the family just got tired, the Fenn family, all these threats they were getting of death threats and kidnapping the granddaughter and yada, yada. They knew Forrest was getting old. And I've also heard that Forrest didn't think he would make it to his birthday, that he was sick. He knew he was going to die. So they were probably like, Forrest, please don't leave us like this. So there's a conspiracy that somebody the Fenn family hired Jack and told them not the solution, but where the treasure is. And that's why. And then they eventually told Forrest. And Forrest was mad, but he probably understood. I don't know. I don't want to get into that stuff. And we can avoid all of that if Jack just comes out with a solution. And until then, this is the solution, in my opinion, that I've been giving you. It's at 5 Springs. Have a great holiday if you don't see my video before then. And I'm sorry, I don't say holiday. Have a Merry Christmas. God bless you. What other words could I put in there? God bless you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Lord be with you. And, whatever. I don't say happy holidays. I'm not politically correct. If you're politically correct, you must just leave my channel now because I don't really give a crap. And until you start paying my bills, I really don't care what you think about what I say. So anyway, peace out. Have a good day. And seriously, Sunshine, I want to see you do an analysis of this poem because you're much more articulate than me and probably know grammar much better than me. Do it. And Jack, you got to reconsider. And if anybody in Forrest Fenn's family listening, the hell with Jack. Give out the solve. He doesn't own it. He doesn't have rights to the solve. Just give it out. If especially if people are bothering you, because I see that there are other YouTubers and forums where they're harassing the family now. Don't do that. Like Shiloh said, just leave them alone. I did send them one email, and I told them in there I'm never going to send another one. And I just pleaded with them in one email to ask Jack to release the solve. And so far, no response, except for from Jack. Anyway, peace. Later.